All right, welcome back to another After Dark, everyone. Hope you all having a good night so far. Hope you guys had a good day. I'm gonna make this a quick intro, so we can get right to the meat and potatoes of this one. If you guys haven't heard, Gregg Popovich, he's stepping down from, he's stepping down as a head coach. He is going to be what he has deemed himself as El Jefe, the boss. He is still going to be very involved with the team. However, he will no longer be on the sidelines coaching. And what a legendary coaching career this man has. It can't be understated what he's done in San Antonio. The consistency he's gotten out of his teams, the amount of respect that he's gotten out of his players. It's second to none. I've never seen anything like it in professional sports. And I don't know if I ever will again. Because a guy like him, they don't let guys like him in the league anymore. You know what I mean? And if they do, they don't last long. Because most players can't handle a dude like him who says it straight. Anyways, I said it would be a short intro. Here's what I'm doing. I want to watch his speech for a couple of reasons. It's really cool to see the Spurs family there backing him. And, you know, in a situation like this where he's leaning on his people, and it's cool to see who's still around. And then two, I wanted to check out this video with you guys. I'll show you when we get there. I think it's going to be rather fitting. So it's a secret base video about him and Rodman. Anyways, let's check this out. So this first video is very short, 2.5 minutes. This is from Chaz NBA. I'm going to link this down below, as well as the secret base video in the description. Guys, please like the video. Likes for Pop, and likes for Duncan and Ginobili and Wemby. You're going to see it all right here.
Gregg Popovich has stepped down as the San Antonio Spurs head coach, with Mitch Johnson taking over, but he will have a new role in the Spurs front office. He'll be the new head of basketball operations, but he had a better way of describing it.
There's a lot of thank yous.
Look, real quick, just this warmed my heart so much. They were like helping him up on the stage and stuff too. Like, to see Duncan and Ginobili right there by his side it's so, they're family, man. It's so cool.
For 25 or 30 years. Mitch Johnson, hi. Alana, Timmy. I can never express the gratitude that I have for so many people carrying my organization and sending me thoughts, prayers, that sort of thing. Since I had the stroke, things are getting better by the day, but it's not good enough for what we plan ahead. And so it's time to make this change. They've got some young players who are going to end up being really great players. Some in Austin and many right here in San Antonio. And Mitch Johnson will be the guy that forges their futures. And I'll do everything I can to help him and help them. I'll have a new job. And
Check this out.
I want to make sure everybody understands what the new job is.
Check this out, guys. Oh, so they didn't know.
I'm no longer a coach. I'm El Jefe.
Manu didn't know. I didn't catch that the first time. Senor Popovich, president of basketball operations. Look at that. He still got his sense of humor, guys.
I ran this by Mike Monroe, and he says, okay, so I'm doing it, okay? Come on up, Mitch, say a few words.
What a guy.
I love this guy. He's going to do a great job.
Man, I don't know about you guys. That is just so heartwarming to me. Let me see here. Where to go? Oh, here we go.
extraordinary rebounder who dyed his hair, had
Hold up.
piercings.
All right, guys. So I wanted to watch this too. This is something I had on my list I wanted to watch. It's the Dennis Rodman, Gregg Popovich beef was so nasty, it could have ruined both their careers. This is also going to be linked down below in the description. I just figured it'll be a funny way to have a send-off to Pop. Thank you for everything, by the way, Pop. Boy, did I hate you guys. I hated you guys very much so for all the battles that we had between Phoenix and San Antonio. However, throughout it all, I respected the hell out of you, Pop. I always respected you. It was like an impossible task to beat you, and you made it so it was pretty much impossible to beat you guys. What a solid team. Great coaching. Great leadership. It all started with you. Enjoy your retirement from coaching, man. You've earned it. You've earned it. All right, guys. Say your piece down in the comments. Let's do this.
This is Dennis Rodman, the extraordinary rebounder who dyed his hair, had piercings, and once kicked a cameraman really
That's Wesley Snipes, the Demolition Man.
hard. And this is Gregg Popovich, the former military man turned executive turned coach whose values include order, discipline, and respecting authority.
Yeah, what a perfect storm it was. Oh my God. Part of the reason I wanted to do this is because I wanted to revisit his early years, and then also I wanted to revisit a time where Dennis Rodman didn't really have a place in the NBA until the Bulls gave him a shot. So there's kind of multiple reasons why I wanted to do this.
You might be thinking, is this a children's video trying to teach the concept of opposites?
Yeah.
It could be.
The odd couple.
But because these two spent the '94 season together on the Spurs, it's something else.
A true odd couple.
On the Bad Boy Pistons in the late 80s and early 90s, Dennis Rodman blossomed from a second-round pick to an elite defender and rebounder, and collected 2 rings in the process.
Mm-hmm.
He was known for effort and grit. And sure, he could be a little rough, as was the Bad Boy's style, but he wasn't the
Jeez,
eccentric
look at that.
rebel just yet. That came after Spurs GM Bob Bass traded for him in 1993. In that 93-94 season,
Just in case you didn't know, what happened with the Pistons was, let me say this appropriately. Dennis Rodman was going through some emotional struggles, and he was planning on ending it all. So he was caught in his car asleep with, I believe it was a shotgun. It wasn't a handgun, so it was a rifle or a shotgun or something. And he had plans to do what he was going to do, end it. And oddly enough, the story he told was he was listening, it was on the radio, I think a Pearl Jam song comes on, and he was like so into the song that he forgot what he was doing, like what he was in his car to do, and then he eventually fell asleep. But the police found him that way. So the whole point of the story is the Detroit Pistons ended up cutting ties with him, and then he saw Chuck Daly as like a father type figure, and without Chuck around, he kind of just went wild. And this is where it enters. He enters Gregg Popovich's life in this state of mind where he's just like, screw it. He's just going to be him.
Rodman began dyeing his hair and dated Madonna. He was having fun, expressing himself and enjoying his celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
Rodman also led the league in techs and had to have a meeting with Commissioner David Stern about his on-court outbursts. Basically, he kept headbutting people. He'd also show up late to practice, have Madonna in the locker room, skip pregame warm-ups, and the Spurs were cool with it all.
Dude, he had Madonna in the locker room?
Coach John Lucas was always in his corner. In this example, he says Rodman can be late to practice because he's not a shooter. Lucas might have been so lenient because Rodman was good for the team. He led the league in rebounds. He took defensive pressure off of scoring champion David Robinson. And the Spurs finished with 55 wins, so why not let the guy come late and headbutt a few people? You can't argue with success. But you can argue with Rodman getting ejected and then suspended in the opening round of the playoffs.
Yeah, you can't just let him run rampant. There needs to be some balance. You got to give him, a little room to be a little wild, but you got to keep him locked in, and locked in and focused, because he can get very easily distracted.
A round in which the Spurs were upset 3-1. Now, Dennis Rodman wasn't the only reason the Spurs were eliminated, but you wouldn't know it based on how they reacted and moved forward. They got an all-new front office that was hell-bent on running a tight ship. The Air Force has ships, right? New president Robert McDermott was a former Air Force pilot who still liked to be called General.
Wow.
By everyone.
Damn.
And he hired Gregg Popovich to be the new GM. Pop started his career coaching with the Air Force, where he'd also played. He eventually moved on to the NBA as an assistant coach under Larry Brown,
that's
on the
right.
Spurs, in fact. The strict, no-nonsense Brown was a mentor who Popovich styled himself on.
Yeah, man, I tend to forget that Larry Brown was the head coach out there in San Antonio.
When he moved on to assistant coach under Don Nelson, a more laid-back players coach, Popovich served as the heavy. And that's where Pop was, assisting in Golden State, when the Spurs GM offer landed on his plate.
That's actually an interesting balance there, too. Because Nelly's kind of like go with the flow, do what you're going to do. And we have more of a military strict mind. So it's like good cop, bad cop.
How did 5 years as an NBA assistant coach qualify him for a GM job? Well, the new president liked a lot of Pop's background, mainly the military stuff and focus on discipline.
Uh-huh.
As his daughter explained...
Once again, like I said in the beginning, a guy like Popovich would never find their place in the NBA right now as it is. So it's cool that he got his time when he did. I'm really happy for it.
Daddy knew Popovich had been at Golden State under Nelly, but the commitment to discipline sold him. Why am I quoting the CEO's daughter? Because she was friends with Popovich's wife, and maybe that had some influence on dear old Daddy.
Uh-huh.
So he got the GM job, but the jury was still out on whether or not he deserved it. For the 94-95 season, we have one man, hired for a disciplinary focus, eager to prove himself. And we have another, the technical foul leader, used to free reign.
Yep. And he
Teamed up-
just got spoiled the last season too. So show up late to practice, whatever, you're fine. Just go out there and rebound. So this is not a good match right now.
On a championship hopeful. The beef began in the preseason. Dennis Rodman missed the bus to training camp. Pop and head coach Bob Hill yelled at him. Pop also fined him.
Mm-hmm.
A week and a half later, Rodman, who was injured, arrived to a preseason game during the second quarter.
Oh.
Pop fined him 15 times what the Players Association allowed for a missed game.
Wow.
And Rodman didn't even miss the whole game. Rodman was doing what he did last year, making his own rules and schedule,
Uh-huh.
and Popovich was drawing a very hard line, telling him that would not be tolerated. In fact, very little would be tolerated. Pop fined the guy for wearing jeans on a team flight.
Wow.
Was Popovich coming down too hard on a talented but difficult guy?
Yeah.
Nobody thought so.
Well, I mean, why you gotta correct me like that? You asked me a question. No, I mean, yeah, a little bit, a little too fierce right off the bat. But I get what he was doing. He was either gonna break him in, or else it wasn't gonna work. I understand. It's a military way. I understand. But was it? I mean, I have hindsight in my favor, so obviously I know this isn't gonna work. But I don't know if I'd fine him for wearing jeans now. That's a little much. I don't even understand what that's all about. Like, are you not allowed to wear jeans on a freaking flight? Like, what's the deal there?
That talented guy got suspended during the playoffs, remember? Plus, Pop had the support of the team. Yes, he fomented that support in meetings behind Rodman's back, but that's not what the public saw. In the papers, David Robinson, who last year heaped praise upon Rodman for helping him in the team, suddenly seemed to regard Rodman as a detriment. And preseason troubles bled into the regular season.
I get it.
When
There was a lot of doubts if it would work in Chicago, because where Dennis went, the circus followed, and he fed into the circus. Like, he fed that circus constantly, constant media coverage. Everyone's always talking about him. I think it worked out with the Bulls, mainly because I think it took a little bit of pressure off of Jordan. and I mean in the media, more so than anything, because the media would get distracted with whatever the new story of Dennis Rodman is, and instead of asking Jordan, asking the rest of the team all Jordan questions, including Jordan himself, they were asking questions about Dennis Rodman. So I think it actually worked out there. Jordan wasn't looking for more attention. He was trying to get less attention.
Rodman was ejected from the final preseason game. Popovich suspended him for 3 regular season games. And threatened longer suspensions if Rodman didn't change. Rodman did not change. He skipped the first practice after his suspension.
Of course he did.
This led to Popovich saying Rodman needed to grow up, which, believe it or not, did not convince Rodman to listen to him or...
Hold on. Okay, I wanted to read more of this. It's my hope that Dennis will grow up and understand that the team really is more important than his constant irritation. Blah, blah, blah. Popovich said, okay.
Grow up, which, believe it...
All right, and this one, Popovich said... Oh, okay, wait. This is Dennis Rodman. Popovich told me I needed to grow up, Rodman said. That wasn't a fair statement. I guess I have to go back to kindergarten and learn my ABCs, but that won't prove who is a man and who is a child. Oh, man. Yeah, it's just not working. It became a battle of wills.
It or not, did not convince Rodman to listen to him or abide by his rules. Nope. 2 days later, after meeting with Rodman, the Spurs put him on a paid leave of absence. Apparently, there was more under the surface of this push-and-pull power struggle. There was also a contract dispute. Rodman came to San Antonio on a 2-year, $4.8 million contract. Then GM Bob Bass said they'd redo his contract, handsomely, after the '94 season. But then Bass resigned under pressure, and the new administration, to quote Rodman, mostly Gregg Popovich, said they knew nothing about the promised new contract. With Rodman out for 3.5 weeks, the Spurs went 8-9. That's not the record of a team with championship expectations.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're getting 20 less rebounds a game. It's a big deal. It's got to be so hard because you got the best rebound, in my opinion, the greatest rebounder I've ever seen in my life. But the problems he brings to the organization are so massive. It's got to be difficult to make a choice on whether to keep him or let him go.
Rodman was expected back December 8th, but called out because of a car break-in. Popovich said that was not a valid excuse.
Wait, what? I have no understanding of why he was not at practice or where he was. Popovich says, the excuse was not acceptable, if that's what you're wondering.
And let his irritation show.
A royal pain in the neck.
But a few days later, Popovich let Rodman rejoin the team, saying the forward had met the necessary guidelines to rejoin the team. A premise which Dennis Rodman did not recognize. GM and player were not on the same page, and it was difficult to see how they'd ever... Oh, wait. The Spurs were way better with Rodman.
Yeah, I mean...
Up until March 16th, they went 33-9 in the 42 overall games Rodman played.
Yep.
With Rodman, the Spurs got to again dream of a championship.
I mean, it's great. What? It's great. Sean Elliott, take as many threes as you want, man. Dennis got you.
Why am I stopping the count on March 16th? Because on that date, Rodman showed up to a game during the second quarter.
Oh, boy.
But Popovich didn't suspend him or fine him. Instead, he kind of said Rodman was a good guy.
Huh.
That's a change.
Huh.
Oh, by the way, Rodman had the second most rebounds in the league at this point, despite not playing in a game until mid-December.
What the hell?
He was averaging 17.4 rebounds a game.
What a monster.
On March 19th, Rodman separated his shoulder in a motorcycle accident. His contract forbade him from riding motorcycles,
oh, wow.
But Popovich again took no disciplinary action. Dennis missed 14 games. The Spurs won the first 12, and their championship dreams seemed less fantastical by the day. But then they lost the following 2. Damningly, they lost to the second-best team in the West because they lacked physicality down low. If the Spurs were going to do this thing, they needed Rodman. And thus, Popovich was backing down.
I don't know about that, you guys. If I'm thinking about the Suns lineup, they had Oliver Miller and Mark West down low. I think David Robinson could do it. Okay, never mind. They needed a power forward matchup to go against Charles Barkley. My bad. Charles Barkley probably lit them up in the power forward position. Dennis could have definitely helped. I take it all back.
Happy about it. When Rodman returned from injury, he had a dominant game.
15 and 22.
And Popovich took umbrage with how much airtime Rodman got as a result. You know the old saying, if you can't suspend them, limit their TV exposure when they're doing well because you still hate them. Hey, at least everybody could feel good about the Spurs finishing with the league's best record. Robinson won MVP, Rodman won his 4th straight rebounding title,
Crazy.
And the verdict was in on Popovich. He absolutely deserved his GM role. Part of the praise was because he stood up to Rodman.
They added Wesley Person, Avery Johnson, Sean Elliott. I don't remember Bill Curley, but yeah, Wesley Person, Avery Johnson, and Sean Elliott for sure.
Before the playoffs, Popovich addressed his attempts to change Rodman. This is not a great way to talk about a person.
Name him.
And it raises some questions. Would the postseason see Popovich resign to letting Rodman be Rodman? Or
I wonder why he was even more crazy when he went to the Bulls. You can't tame him.
there trouble ahead? I wonder.
Okay, I can't remember how this ends. I mean, I know how it ends, big picture, but I don't remember the details. So I'm stoked about this right now, and I'm also very hungry.
All right, Spurs are in the conference semis, up 2-0. In Game 3, head coach Bob Hill subbed Rodman out, and Rodman disagreed with the move. On the bench, he shed his shoes, put a towel over his head, laid down, and didn't join a huddle.
Wow. Are these fans? These are fans, aren't they? With Dennis. Holy, this guy's crazy.
The shoe thing before, but still, this looked bad. As a result, Rodman didn't play in Game 4. The Spurs were making disciplinary moves in the playoffs? I thought we cleared this up. If they wanted a title, they needed Rodman.
Wow, so they're just going to use him as a backup. Damn. Like if they're down and they need to make a comeback, maybe we'll put Dennis in.
I mean, they did win Game 4, but why risk it? Still in the doghouse, Rodman didn't start Game 5, which they lost.
Oh,
Now,
this is driving me crazy. What's his name? What is his name? Is that Vinny Del Negro?
This kind of looks like the beef has shifted from Pop versus Rodman to Hill versus Rodman. Dennis isn't suspended these games. He suited up, then Hill left him on the bench. But as Rodman explained in his book, he 100% believed Popovich was pulling Hill's strings. And Rodman's beef was with the puppet master.
Okay.
Not the puppet.
That would make
Spurs
sense. So the order came from above.
To the Western Conference Finals, where they had bigger problems than Rodman.
Which, I'm sorry to interrupt. That makes a lot more sense anyways, because the GM, per se, shouldn't be that involved with what's going on the floor. So, yeah, he's got to put it on the coach. That way the respect and the fear or whatever you want to say falls on George Hill.
The Spurs advanced to the Western Conference Finals, where they had bigger problems than Rodman. Hakeem Olajuwon was outplaying David Robinson. I mean, there were still problems with Rodman, of course. He took offense when he was benched for the final play of Game 1. In Game 2, Rodman only played 3 minutes in the second half, 17 minutes total.
Wow.
This was perhaps punishment for his attitude at the end of Game 1, perhaps punishment for an article released after Game 1 in which Rodman said he didn't care about basketball.
Yep. So those wondering what Dennis Rodman the Bulls got, this is the Dennis Rodman they got. And when they asked him to join the Bulls, that was his response. Like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit who I play for. Like, he really didn't care at all.
In Game 4, Rodman got to play and was great. With 12 offensive rebounds, 19 total, he was the heart of the victory.
Man, he's just so
but
good.
But then he showed up to the following practice 40 minutes late. Hill or Popovich yanked him from the starting lineup in Game 5, which was a loss. And the Spurs were eliminated a game later. Popovich was tight-lipped about Rodman throughout the postseason and most of the offseason, perhaps because he didn't want to drive down Rodman's trade potential.
Dennis Rodman is not a topic for interviews, said Pop. Yeah.
October 2nd, Popovich traded Rodman to the Bulls, and in return received only non-rebound champion, non-starter, non-difference maker Will Purdue. Sorry, Purdue, but
I didn't remember this. In my mind, Dennis was a free agent, but he wasn't. He got traded for Will Purdue. Wild. That's wild. Yeah, they really wanted to get him the hell out of San Antonio then.
come on, look at the numbers. But guess who wasn't looking at the numbers? To him, just getting rid of Rodman made a championship more likely. After the trade, Popovich let some pent-up feelings fly, sharing his side of the contract dispute. Teammates revealed their relationship was even worse than the suspensions and benching implied. In his book, published a year later, Rodman...
Yeah, this is real, you guys. This is Dennis. Good God.
Fired back at the GM, blaming him for everything. He summarized the beef as simply Popovich, above all else, wanting to make a name as the man who
Wait, I gotta try something out real quick, guys. I don't know if this works. Let me see. Does this work? Oh, no. Uh-oh. I'm sorry, you guys. Oh, shit. Okay, back to it. Oh, what's wrong? Did I blow it up?
back at the GM, blaming him for everything. He summarized the beef as simply Popovich, above all else, wanting to make a name as the man who tamed Dennis Rodman.
Oh, jeez.
Tamed. Where have I heard that word before? Oh, right, from Popovich.
Yep.
Popovich didn't successfully tame Rodman, but the unknown rookie GM still enhanced his reputation for how he stood up to the rebellious forward. Rodman's reputation at the end of the 95 season, however, was pretty low. San Antonio could have been the end of Rodman. He could have seen his career wither away as the problem child nobody wanted, benched to oblivion while his talent rotted.
Yeah.
But that's not what
Nope.
happened. He thrived with the Bulls and collected 3 more rebounding titles. And, oh yeah, 3 more NBA championships, too.
Yes, sir.
Now, Rodman's success in Chicago could have reflected poorly on Pop. He suspended and wasted a once-in-a-lifetime talent because of attendance and insubordination. He traded away that talent for nothing. Sorry, Will Purdue, just comparatively.
To
This
be
could
fair,
damn
old Will Purdue.
Popovich. But, that's not what happened.
Nope.
He went on to become coach of the Spurs and won 5 titles. So that's more what he's known
Yep.
for. As unpleasant as it was at the time, this beef got Rodman to the Bulls and helped launch Popovich's career. And then their successes eclipsed this beef. But it certainly makes you wonder what these clearly talented guys could have accomplished together if they had just been totally different people.
Right? It's not
You know
gonna
what?
happen.
Never mind.
Yeah, it was never gonna happen. Great video. Great video.
Thank you for watching, every single one of you. I'm not
Oh,
going to
you're
do
welcome.
personalized thank yous this time, but just know that I am
Oh,
grateful.
thank you, Minecraft.
Check out some other videos, subscribe, and for Secret Base, I'm Clara Morris. Good night and good game.
Claire Morris is awesome. Yeah. So, I think no, it was absolutely not a mistake to get rid of Dennis Rodman. Absolutely not, because what was going on in Chicago versus what was being built in San Antonio, completely different situations. And Popovich was trying to get everyone on board right off the bat. This is how it's going to be. These are the rules. Everybody needs to fall in line. He had David Robinson there, you know, a fellow military man who was like ready to step in line. Yeah, no problem. Set the tone. But then when you got Dennis Rodman just being a wild man and not following any of the rules, how's that? You know, that's terrible for the entire system, because then all of a sudden everyone thinks that they're exempt to the rules, and the empire that was built under Popovich would have never been built if that was what he was known for. Well, you know, Pop gives special treatment to his stars, but then he expects all of us to fall in line all the time. That would have been a terrible, terrible narrative. Instead, the narrative around Popovich has always been even the biggest stars of stars fall in line and buy into the vision of the team. And that's how they had so much success. And the only two I can really think of right now that didn't was Dennis. And it was never going to work out with Dennis. So I'm glad, Dennis found a new home in Chicago for a while, because that worked out a lot better. And Steven Jackson is another one I can think of that just, he hated Pop. Still talks trash about Pop to this day. It's weird, but he wasn't gonna buy in. And but the thing is those guys don't last long. So Dennis didn't last long. 2 years? Steven Jackson, I think he went there twice to San Antonio. So I think Pop gave him another shot, but it just didn't work out. And I think they were both like 1 to 2 year stints. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I'm not 100%, but that's how my memory remembers it. But yeah, everybody else, they bought into the vision. And all the way to this point in his final season, Wemby looking like a nice kid, man. Looking like a good, well-mannered, respectable kid who's working hard on his game. And it seems like he's got nothing but respect for Pop. So well done, Popovich. What an amazing thing you built. And I hope the next generation takes care of what you built, because that was a lot of work, a lot of consistency. It took so many years. We were talking about a story here in 94, 1994. And here we are 30 years later, okay? 30 years later. Look what he has built. 5 championships, and just the most consistent, outside of the last 2 years, the most consistent franchise I've ever seen. Yeah. And I'm sticking to it. But we'll see. I mean, all in all, it's been the Lakers that have always found a way to get back on top. Celtics, I'm looking at you guys too. But San Antonio, over the last at least 25 years, they're always there. They've always been there. And just like I said, except for the last couple of years, but now they got Wemby, and if they build around Wemby, they'll be back contending within one season, in my mind. In fact, I figured they were going to make the playoffs this year if Wemby didn't have to leave for the rest of the season with his blood clots. They were looking really good. The dynamic between Chris Paul and Wemby, it was working. But the most important thing about this, just to say thank you to Gregg Popovich. As a basketball lover, even though our teams were rivals, man, I think you might be the best coach of all time. I'm not sure, but I think you might be the best coach of all time. Yes, there's Phil Jackson, but Phil is different. It's just a completely different thing. Yes, Phil won more, so we got to give it to him there. But I think Popovich might have been the best, and we'll never see another guy like him, and we'll never see another guy like Phil, because they won't let a guy in the league coaching with whatever. How do you describe Phil Jackson's coaching? Whatever it is, they probably won't allow it in. He was not going off of analytics and data. He was more of a psychological coach, emotional coach, philosophical coach. Anyways, you guys, Popovich, go drive into the sunset, man. Wish you the best in your new job, and I hope you don't push yourself too far. Gotta take care of that health, man. But it was scary when I heard about the stroke, and I'm really glad that he's okay. He's looking all right, and I hope he has a full recovery from that. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. So everybody, thank you so much for watching the video with me. I appreciate it, and sending respects to a fantastic, brilliant basketball mind. Yeah, like the vid, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, be water, my friends. Peace out, everyone.